PD describes how professional development for teachers of engineering should really help them to identify appropriate curriculum and instructional materials and assessments. And how I see it and what I think about is really helping educators to sort through all of the resources that are out there online, on Pinterest, on Teachers Pay Teachers, all over the place, how they can identify the highest quality engineering resources for them that's most appropriate for their students and that will, give them the learning outcomes that we want students to have. Professional development should be designed to help engineering educators learn to identify and evaluate appropriate curriculum and instructional materials and assessment methods, because really using high quality instructional materials improves student outcomes, and that curriculum really matters. How teachers use the curriculum really matters, and there's so many activities and lessons out in the world that teachers can find online that identify as STEM, and so it's important for educators to be able to identify high quality resources that work well and are appropriate for their classrooms and their settings, and also to understand how to assess whether or not their students have learned. We always will then share with educators the research behind why the Youth Engineering Solutions curriculum is designed the way it is, how it's aligned with standards, how we've designed it so that it has a relevant and meaningful context that students can relate to, that they might see in their own communities. We highlight how it's integrated and sequenced in such a way so that it flows for students. And then we also point out, the really important opportunities for assessment. For engineering, it's often not that you want your students to have the best design that works perfectly the first time, but we want to assess the process that students go through. And in our professional development, we support teachers in thinking about that in a lot of different ways. We provide educators with sample student resources. So we have engineering notebooks that educators can look through and think about what the questions are that we're asking students. What are we actually learning from students and their responses? And what do we see in their thinking? Can we see that they're applying science knowledge to solve a problem? Can we see that they're evaluating their designs and making evidence-based decisions? Can we see that they're persisting and learning through failure? And if we can't, what questions can we ask? How can we shape our assessments so that we are seeing that kind of process, that kind of thinking? And so we'll have educators look at student work. We'll have educators also look at classroom video. And if they do have a rubric, we will share rubrics with them, and we'll, have them watch a classroom video and think about how might you assess these students? What kinds of questions might you ask them to foster more discourse between students, to really get to understand student thinking? And what kind of talk moves, questions, and prompts might we be able to use to really get that thinking more visible for us?
For more information, including a rubric for creating PD where engineering is a context for learning, please visit the ASC's K-12 website and look for resources.